Welcome to this explainer. I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine a dark game development studio. You've got concept art plastered all over the walls, complex code scrolling across this massive grid of glowing monitors, and on the main screens, a vibrant, incredibly colorful online game world is slowly fading to black. The dream is ending. But over in the corner of one monitor, just sitting there, a small, unassuming chat window is still glowing. Well, today we're going to explore how one of the most phenomenal business transformations in modern tech started exactly right there, literally in the ashes of a completely failed idea.
So, before Slack became this multi-billion-dollar platform that, let's be honest, practically runs modern office communication, the team behind it was a startup called TinySpec. Led by founder Stewart Butterfield, they were pouring absolutely everything into a highly creative, totally unusual video game called Glitch, and it was imaginative. It had a brilliant, passionate team behind it, and it even had a truly dedicated base of hardcore fans. But, as you know, creativity alone doesn't necessarily guarantee product-market fit.
Okay, let's dive into this harsh reality. A product can be beautifully designed, incredibly ambitious, and still completely fail if the market just isn't large enough or the need isn't urgent enough. And that was the painful truth for the TinySpec team. Despite all the love poured into Glitch, it just lacked the momentum to be a sustainable business. The founders had to face facts. The main product simply was not working. The game eventually was going to have to shut down.
Section 1. The Hidden Internal Tool.
Now this is where the story takes a wildly fascinating turn. We are looking at a classic, almost textbook example of the actual product hiding inside the process. See, while the team was desperately trying to build this massive multiplayer game, they were coordinating across different time zones and locations. And email? Email was just way too slow. Their inboxes were completely overflowing, meetings were dragging them down, and crucial project info was just scattered to the wind. So to just survive their own chaotic development process, they built themselves a powerful little piece of communication infrastructure.
Because they built it for themselves out of pure, desperate necessity, it did exactly what they needed. It gave them lightning-fast coordination across remote locations. It had searchable conversations, which was huge, meaning nothing got lost. It centralized their files and links, and it forced all their decision-making into one transparent place. Now, at first, they didn't even see this as a product. To them, it was just plumbing. It was infrastructure. But the brilliant insight here is that sometimes the absolute most valuable thing a company builds isn't what they're trying to sell. It's what they build just to survive. By being their own very first customer, they accidentally created a proven, rock-solid use case from day one. The game was dead, sure, but this communication system was solving a massive, real-world problem.
Which brings us to Section 2, the pivot decision. So, the founders are sitting in this critical strategy meeting, and everything is hanging in the balance. They really only had two choices: pack it up and completely shut down the company, or change the question they were asking. They stopped agonizing over how do we save the game, and instead asked, wait, could other teams need the tool we just built for ourselves? This is literally the climax of their entire journey. Flipping that one question transformed their entire trajectory and birthed Slack.
And it's super important to understand what happened next. A pivot isn't just throwing a dart at a board and changing direction in a panic. A real strategic pivot happens when a team learns from a failure and then deliberately redirects their existing strengths toward a better opportunity. The TinySpec team had serious technical chops, brilliant product design experience, and deep, hard-won insights into real-time collaboration. They weren't starting from scratch. They were leveraging exactly what they already had in the building.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the evolution was astonishingly fast. Phase 1, intense game development. Phase 2, the absolutely devastating shutdown of that game, but right on its heels in Phase 3, the realization and discovery of the true value of their internal tool. And finally, Phase 4, the launch of Slack. They went from mourning a dead game to launching a revolutionary communication platform entirely by discovering their product through actual daily use.
Section 3. Solving the workplace pain.
So, you might be wondering, why did Slack explode in popularity quite so fast? Well, it's because it solved a universal workplace headache that people understood instantly. Important decisions were constantly getting buried in massive email threads, right? Well, Slack offered organized, easily searchable channels. Different software tools were totally disconnected. Slack built seamless integrations with the services people already used, like Dropbox and Google Apps. Teams were stuck in isolated silos, and Slack broke that open with transparent, lighter, and way faster communication. They didn't just push flashy tech for the sake of it. They offered a fundamentally better way to work, acting as a central nervous system for the entire office.
Section 4. The SaaS Growth Flywheel.
Now, the secret engine behind this massive expansion was the SaaS growth flywheel. It's pure kinetic energy. Slack had this brilliant low-friction adoption pattern. Step 1, start small. Just get a single department or a tiny startup to adopt it. Zero friction, no heavy IT training required. Step 2, the product naturally spreads like wildfire. It's inherently a team tool, so that first department naturally invites others. Step 3, it effectively becomes the organizational memory. The more channels you make, the more files you drop in, the more integrations you set up, the more valuable the product gets. And finally, step 4, that daily habit and deep organizational dependence naturally generate incredibly reliable recurring revenue. Slack wasn't just selling software, they literally changed human behavior at work.
Section 5. The monumental scale.
That flywheel effect completely pushed Slack out of the realm of being a simple little messaging app and into a totally different category. It transformed into a comprehensive digital workplace. Today, Slack positions itself as an AI-powered platform for managing projects, automating workflows, and connecting teams securely. And their timing? Absolutely perfect. They arrived right as work was becoming heavily digital, right as teams were scattering across cities and time zones, and right as software tools were multiplying out of control. Slack became the central rhythm where company culture and daily workflows actually live.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate validation of their platform logic. Salesforce ended up acquiring Slack in a monumental deal valued at $27.7 billion. Just think about that for a second. $27.7 billion. That is a staggering contrast to the abandoned, failing video game we started this story with. It just proves how strategically vital these workplace collaboration platforms have truly become.
Section 6, Lessons from Productive Failure.
But look, the real takeaway from this explainer isn't just about a massive valuation. The deeper lesson here is about the strategic power of a pivot and the concept of productive failure. You know, so many founders get way too emotionally attached to their original idea, and they just go down with the ship. But the Tiny Speck team was willing to let go of their darling game and follow the actual evidence. Look at what they salvaged. They reused their underlying tech, they reused their own remote collaboration habits, they reused their creative design thinking to make enterprise software actually fun to use. And they reused all the incredible insights they gained from building under intense pressure. They proved that failure doesn't mean your work has zero value. Failure actually just reveals where the real value is hiding.
The failure was not the end. It was the signal. I love that. Innovation really doesn't always start with a clean, perfectly executed success story. Often, it begins with absolute, crushing disappointment. A product tanks, the market yawns, but hidden inside that failure might just be an incredible asset. It might be a unique workflow, a brilliant customer insight, or a quirky internal tool that ends up being worth billions. Slack's founders were willing to see a gold mine where everyone else just saw a crater. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. What hidden assets or quiet signals might be lying within your own setbacks, just waiting for you to discover them?